Commerce, I'm delighted to welcome you all to the Faculty Development Program on Managing Students and Teachers' Expectations, Management and Institutional Brand Building, by someone most of us have already had the pleasure and privilege of interacting with. I welcome Dr. Keshav Nandi, the facilitator for the day. Dr. Nandi is a professor of management and mentor at Narsi Monji University and comes with 39 years of experience spread across varied fields: teaching, civil service, magistrate, senior positions in RBI, Unit Trust of India, and senior vice president, occupier, CVO, and director in boards of 5 well-known manufacturing companies. He is member of various corporate committees and industry bodies like Bombay Chamber of Commerce and Industry. An acclaimed NLP trainer and motivational speaker, his book, Be a Habitual Winner, is a bestseller too. A man of such caliber is amidst us today, ready to share his knowledge with all of us. I now request Advocate Vijay Kulkarni, Joint Secretary, VPM Institutions, to address the gathering. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Once again, I welcome you to VPM family. You are a part of the advisory committee of VPM, and sir has written a very impressive book, Habitual Winner, because he is a habitual learner. I have seen Dr. Nandi learning from everybody and from everything. And the way in which he has systematically developed his personal career, there is a lot of things to learn for me. And as far as teachers are concerned, you have to meticulously understand the CV and its content of Dr. Nandi. Like plain teaching is the old fashioned now. How you can customize your own ways of learning as a teacher, ways of teaching to the students, because methodological approach which are recognized in the companies and in the government and in non-government bodies. Ultimately, you need to ensure that your student becomes a product, not just a certificate. So there is a lot of things to learn from Nandi sir, because it's very rare to get a person from the industry as a teacher. You may have an academic background, you may pursue your studies and you may get highest degree. But a person who has worked with Reserve Bank of India, who was a magistrate, who was also a corporate director, and he has taken care of the vigilance, advisory, audit, and management, employee development as an advisor to various corporate houses and also management institution. If you see on the YouTube, you have many beautiful videos and very interactive sessions. It's not like even if he is teaching you economics, you see the manner in which the lectures are delivered. A person who don't know E of economics, he gets involved. He thoroughly enjoys the lectures. Sir, we are very much grateful to you because you have accepted our offer and you are on our panel. And I'm 100% sure every teacher of VPM will definitely enjoy this particular lecture. In addition to that, as a take home, there will be new methods of teaching, new methods of learning, new methods of interacting with the students, and how you should make a learning process a most enjoyable assignment in life, whether it's 3 years or 2 years in junior college, 3 years in degree, or 1 year in a vocational course. All the best to each and every teacher. Sir, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thanks a lot to you for saying such nice words about me, many of which possibly I may not deserve, but thank you nevertheless, sir.
Thank
you.
Nandi.
Hello.
Yes, Nandi.
Yeah, can we start?
If I could just request our principal, Dr. Ajit Kumar, to address us.
Yeah. Please, go ahead.
Yes.
Sorry, I was muted. Good evening to you all. I was very eagerly waiting to listen to my habitual winner. It's always a pleasant experience to listen to Dr. Nandi. His words are full of substance, honesty, and spirited. I'm very sure that institutional branding, a requirement for us. Let this be a good initiative. Normally, we always feel that branding is the work of the administrative or managerial level. Let the management bring about the change in the institutional branding by spending money in advertisement, hoardings, or this, that, and all. That doesn't happen. Actually, institutional branding happens from the lowest level. An institution of our kind, it must happen from our staff, our students, our parents, and our alumni. Only the management and administration can give guidelines to where to go. That spirit must transform from the bottom. I'm sure this is what is VPM needs now. And I can talk a lot about it, but I would like to listen from Dr. Nandi. Sir, please.
Thank you, Ajit sir. A brand for a company is like a reputation for a person. You earn reputation by trying to do hard things well, said Jeff Bezos. Without further ado, I invite Dr. Nandi to begin today's session. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kulkarni sir, for your very, being the inspiring head of inspiration for the institute and for all of us, whom I know for many years. He has been like a brother. And Ajit sir, yeah, your enthusiasm is very infectious. And I'm looking forward to meet you sometime. And then Madam Nambiar, who spoke nice words about me, and we have not met. And of course, Pratibha ma'am, who has been a great support all the time. Then Indrila madam and all. Yeah, you have been great friends, and thank you very much, everybody. Friends, see, I have always been a sort of, I'll tell you one thing, that I started my career as a teacher. I joined as an assistant professor of English. From that, I changed, about 9 to 10 jobs. I experimented here. Then, every time I have fallen down and I woke up and then started running again. And one book that I had read in my school, I was a voracious reader in my school. So one book I read that many of you must have read, otherwise kindly read, that is, Adventures of Augie March by the Nobel laureate Saul Bellow. So that book was a great inspiration for me, and in many ways I identify with Augie March, who makes a lot of mistakes in his life. But from every mistake, he learns and he becomes much stronger than before. And that is the journey Augie March had to the celebrated glory he achieved at the end. And so that is why I love experimenting, and I love learning from mistakes, and I love making mistakes. Yeah. I love making mistakes, which nowadays we are calling innovation and creativity, because every mistake is an act of innovation. Every mistake is an act of creativity. That is why when I was in the corporate, I used to make the first day of any new joinee, that is the mistake day, all mistake day. That means how many mistakes you are making after going through the process in the organization. Because the first day they will be taken around, seeing the process of manufacturing, this, that, and all that. And then I would like to discuss with them in the evening about what are the mistakes they would like to make in various areas. And believe me, each and every mistake was nothing but innovation from them. Because they always tried to think that can it be done in a different way? If so, yes, then how? And that helped us a lot. And I always, when I teach also management students, I tell them that always be very fond of making mistakes. Because what you call mistake, that itself is nothing but an act of innovation and possibly a great way ahead to the future. And that is why some of the, when I had visited, because in our business, I had visited China, I found that every university has got a very, very big building which says, what is this? They call it innovation laboratory, where they have one paper reserved only for innovation for the students. So they will be innovating something there, and then they will showcase it to the external evaluators. Based on that, it will be decided whether they are going to pass their MBA or not, right? And whatever degree, they say that unless your degree is empowering you to create, it is meaningless. That is what they say. So that is how, when I was very, very much touched by, after talking to 2-3 professors, they said that they have come to India where it is university, UGC comes to see whether we have a good library, good building, good canteen, this and that. But there the first condition they see is whether a particular college has an innovation laboratory or not. And creating something new is a must for a student, otherwise he cannot pass. That is something, I found very interesting. And so what present time, what I feel, that what touched me the most is when the students, they started calling me repeatedly, sir, what to do now? What to do? There is COVID, there is no class, there is no job, there is no internship. So what is our future? Then I asked them that, do you ask this question to your parents? No, sir. Earlier we are asking, but in the present time we feel that our teachers are our best support. Okay, we trust our teachers more than anybody else. That really touched me, and I thought that it is a very happy decision I took, that I took VRS from the corporate and came for teaching. It is almost a circle, like I started my career with teaching and coming back after changing about 9 jobs, 10 jobs, and coming here at the end. Because the idea is to give back everything to the society, not to. And as my father made a sort of vow with me, he took a promise from me that you should die empty-handed, empty stomach. You came empty stomach, you should give back everything and then die. So I thought, yes, it is okay. But important point here is, when students, they put so much of trust on the teachers, on the faculty. And who are faculties? Faculties are nothing but walking ambassadors of the institute, which grooms them with its value system. That is how you will find the faculties and the students of one institute, they are drastically different from other. I clearly remember when I was in the corporate, I was very impressed. The type of assertiveness in group discussion I used to conduct. Then students from different management schools will come. I used to be very much impressed with the type of assertiveness and glory with which the Narsee Monjee students, they were trying to assert themselves. And when I'll ask, you are from which college? Then they will say, sir, we are from NMMIS. Then I understood one thing, that an institute has an innate capacity to put its imprint on the students in such a manner that the students, their value system will change for the whole life. That is how we create future generation, and we'll be talking about it, because the expectation, how the expectation of the parents have changed now, how the expectation of students have changed, and how the teachers, they are also doing their best, I must say, during this crisis situation. Okay, the teachers have played very, very important role in several ways, with their empathy, with their understanding, with their handholding, and whatnot. Yeah. Yes. So this is how I'll be talking about it, mostly from my own experience, from my own vision about the education system in this country, from my exposure to the education system in several other countries where I have visited, either to deliver lecture or this and that, or to participate in some seminar and all that. So everything together will be there, and at the end we'll have a very good, because all of you are so highly talented, and wherever I go to talk or I talk, I go with an empty bowl so that I can take back everything at home. When I come back and I start asking what is that I have collected. So with such eminent teachers here, and with visionary like Mr. Kulkarni, we should be in a position to have some very strong takeaway from this discussion. Okay. So what is the Smart and Good School Initiative? Smart and Good School Initiative. So that means the initiative must be smart, and it must be a good school initiative. And what is that? By integrating excellence and ethics. Integration of excellence and ethics, these two are very important for success in school, work and beyond. Yes, excellence, there must not be any compromise on that. Okay, because that is the cutting edge based on which we are moving ahead. So excellence is there, and ethics. As you know, as I was just giving you a small example, each and every school is having its own ethical pattern. Okay, in ancient time also, and in Gurukul system, one Gurukul, they will be having a particular type of ethical pattern. All the students will get so much ingrained into that. Okay, they will be totally different from the other school and being under some other guru. Okay, that is what we have seen in Ramayana, Mahabharata and all that, how the Gurukul system influences the disciples and shapes their future, their life till their death. And that is how it is. Success in schools, in work also. That is what it talks, that an imprint is left so strongly that in work also it is visible, and beyond. Yes, in our life also it is beyond. So friends, through history and across cultures, education has got two great roles. This is what I am trying to emphasize today. One is help students to become habitual winners. As Ajit sir was mentioning right now, that I do not know whether I become an embodiment of habitual winner because I have lost many battles, but yes, I won many wars. Yeah, but it is possible to become a habitual winner, and that is what I practice also. That is how, through neuro-linguistic programming, you can become a habitual winner, because you try to condition your mind for winning. You try to condition your mind for success. And when you condition your mind for success, then body being slave of the mind, body follows the dictate of the mind, as a result of which you become successful. That is what, the other day, some of my colleagues, in my institute, they were asking that how is it that, at your age, you remain so youthful, and your energy level never comes down, because there are records that in one day I have spoken for about 6 to 7 hours without getting tired. How does it happen? I said, it is very simple. You program your mind not to get tired, and you are not tired, that's all. But how do you program your mind? For that, you need to take some of the exercises done by me initially. After that, you will be self-driven. So once you do it, then you will not only remain young, but also all youthful habits you can practice, and you can really defy your age also, because your body will not give way. Your body will, suppose, like I have decided to practice everything, what a 45-year-old person will do. That means less than 20 years. I am 65, so 20 years less. So I find that, yes, I maintain the same energy level of a 45-year-old person. It is possible if you know how to empower your mind and how to condition your mind for doing this. then body is a very poor fellow. Body, I always pity body because it is always a slave of the mind. It cannot do anything on its own, right? And that is what all of us should be doing it. Okay. So two great goals. One is help students become habitual winners. Yes, it is possible. The difference between winner and habitual winner is very simple. That all of us are winners. All of us are winners by accidents. Some games I lose and some games I win. And somebody has defined, our life is defined like that. Something you lose, something you gain, and on the whole, that is life. But my definition is different. My definition is I want to be a habitual winner. I must make winning a habit. I must make winning a habit. And when you make winning a habit, your body automatically picks up that habits and acts accordingly. And believe me, friends, it is possible. You can practice it through NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. That is the great success of that particular theory. Maybe sometime we'll do some practices about it, not now. So I'll stop there. Now, second is help students build strong character. This is what I was just telling you right now. That now students, they look at the institute as well as the teachers much more optimistically than anybody else in this world, because that is what has changed. The present situation has changed everything, and that is what and how strong character. What do you mean by strong character? You understand by strong character, these are the basic qualities, trustworthiness, respect, then responsibility, fairness, then caring, caring and empathy. These are some of the important qualities that come with strong character. Your conduct, everybody knows how you conduct yourself, that is visible to the world, to the whole world, but that is only tip of the iceberg. Only one third of your personality is your conduct. Another 2/3 is character, which is hidden, and that determines your life in future. So unless you have a strong character, you may be a good student, but you will not be able to conduct your future in a very, 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 very respectable and convincing manner with a strong personality. That's why we should help students build strong character. Yeah. So the measured effectiveness of character education. So there are two types of education. So what is character education? One is performance education. The other is character education. We will be discussing in detail both. So this is what you must have read somewhere. At all grade levels, students who have experienced quality character education outperform comparison groups, not only on measures of social behavior, yes, but also on measures of academic performance. So if you are pursuing character education, then you will outperform comparison groups, your comparative groups, you will outperform them, not only in measures of social behavior. Yes, your social behavior will change totally, but also on measures of academic performance. In academic performance also, you will find there is a drastic improvement. Yeah. Then comes fundamental questions. What is character? So having said all these, we should discuss what is character. What is character education after all? Because people have talked about character, people have talked about education, but what is this man is talking character education? Is it possible to educate somebody character? Yes, it is possible, sir. Just see. See, character has two major parts. One is performance character and moral character. So again, your character is bringing you down to two levels. One is performance character and the other one is moral character. So what is the difference? This is the difference. So performance character is, one is continual improvement. So it believes, because in the race for excellence, there is no finishing line. You continually run till you drop dead. Even if you are dead, then also there is no and to search for performance, search for excellence. Because when you are dead also, then there will be a quest how to put your dead body in the grave. Let us put it this way so that it looks decent. It looks good. The dead body looks good. Okay. So the end for search for excellence, the search for excellence does not end with your death also. So that is what we believe in, continual improvement. Yeah. Then goal setting. So in performance character, goal setting plays a very important role. That what is the goal you are setting? Are you, before goal setting, all of us, we should do a sort of SWOT analysis. Many times, SWOT analysis, when you do, that time you are under the mistaken notion that goal setting can happen automatically. No. Please remember, though SWOT analysis is a very big tool, but it does not completely give a spear, headway to goal setting. No, it does not give a headway to the goal setting, because in goal setting is a strategic process. And in strategic process, don't think always that your SWOT analysis is going to help you as such. In the sense, many times you will believe that somebody's strength is more, means his strategy making will be very powerful. Okay. And if someone has a lot of weaknesses, then it may or may not be possible to achieve success. But friends, as far as corporates are concerned, where I have spent substantial part of my career, and all of you will be doing it because that is the future, battleground for all of us. So you will find that many times we strategize from threat, from weakness, and you are successful. For my success in the corporate career, I have always strategized from weakness. And because my strength is known to my competitor very well, so he is prepared how to face it, how to fight it. And I may lose there if he has more strength. But if I am strategizing from weakness, then I am in a position to spring a surprise on my competitor. When you spring a surprise on your competitor, he is caught off the guard. And that is how you become successful, right? So when all of you know that, all of you know that suppose there is a fight in house between your mother and your wife. For many reasons, there can be one. And if the wife is doing SWOT analysis and finding that she is at fault, and possibly when husband will come, he will side with the mother. So immediately the moment husband knocks the door, he knows how many times he knocks and he knows the husband has come. So he starts crying. He starts crying. And the moment she starts crying, then the husband immediately is overtaken by the pathos. And he takes her inside and gives fast hearing to her. There she tries to say so many things as to how this has happened, how his mother was cruel, this, that, a lot of things. And ultimately the son is going to take a decision in favor of the wife. And that time the wife has become victorious. Do you think she has become victorious because of strength? It is not. It is because of the weakness. And crying is a weakness, obviously. It is believed that it is a weakness. So friends, how you play your weakness and how you play your strength, that is what strategy is. So that is why goal setting is nothing but strategy. Though there are so many things, there is smart test for goal setting, these, that, everything is there. But most important thing is the strategizing process in goal setting is very important. Right. Then comes your work ethic. Work ethic, as I said, in performance character, it plays a very important role, because the work ethic is basically work ethic is decided on the type of upbringing you have got in the school, the college in which you have learned, and because the college stands for certain value system, and that is how you pick up the work ethic. You pick up the work ethic from your parents, from your society, from your family, everybody, right? That is performance. Then self-confidence. Self-confidence is something which is very important, because you will find now when I go into the feedback that from the parents, The most important thing they want in their children is improved self-confidence. Because everybody has now come to understand that if somebody has self-confidence, then you will win. Whatever be the, even if the battle is very tough. Self-confidence is something that we should not allow it to be forsaken. But unfortunately, you know, it does not happen like that. In the normal societal upbringing, our societal upbringing is the biggest problem of developing self-confidence. Because the moment, you know, you ask somebody, that is what it happens in many classes also. I ask somebody to sing a song, he will say, no, I cannot sing, sir. I am not a good singer. Or I will sing tomorrow. Then my next question, how are you sure that you will be alive tomorrow to sing? Life is so uncertain. You never know. Maybe a terrorist will come and chop you off. How do you know that you will sing tomorrow? Please do it now. Then many times you feel that I have not told this girl or boy to sing like Mohammad Rafi or Kishore Kumar. I have told him to sing like X or Y or Z only. Why he is not singing? Then he will say, it is because log kya kahenge, right? And this log kya kahenge concept is the biggest problem for every student for not developing self-confidence. Then it takes a lot of lectures for me to tell, I have never said that you should sing like Lata Mangeshkar. I have told you to sing like Sangeeta and Sangeeta alone. What is your problem? What is your problem? Suppose today you are a 3-year-old child, I would have come to your house and I would have told you to sing. Do you think you would have hesitated? No. You would have straight away sung, whatever. In the worst case, you would have sung national song, Jana Gana Mana Adhinayaka Jaya Hai. But you would have never said that I don't want, I cannot sing. So friends, this problem, our societal upbringing has created the biggest problem for developing self-confidence, and teacher's role is the most to take out this fear from the minds of the students, asking them to respond to the call of their heart and not bother as to who is telling what. Who are these people after all? Log kya kahenge? Who are these people? These people are nobody to you. If you break your leg and fall by the side of the road, none of them is going to pick you up, take to the hospital. Okay, only 3-4 people, your parents, your friends, these and that, they will do this job. You bother about their opinion. Why bother about the whole class? Why bother about the whole people who are walking in the street? As if, you know, they are going to decide your future, your destiny? Not at all. You are the maker of your destiny. If your heart says this is right, you do it. If somebody is accepting it, say thank you very much. Somebody does not accept, you say go to hell. I don't care. This is my life. This is my life. Okay. Yes. So self-confidence is something very important that I have found that with the role of teachers, it goes up. Yeah. So teachers must play a very, very important role. Then initiative. Initiative nobody wants to take. The reason is our subconscious by nature is status quoist. Subconscious by nature is status quoist. That I think when I talk about NLP, then I'll explain the process very well, very in detail. Then you will understand what is the nature of subconscious. Subconscious is always in favor of status quo because it does not want to accept any change. It does not want to accept any change, even if the change appears to be very good. But still, subconscious will prompt me to be very suspicious, very doubtful. You can try tomorrow in your college also. Like somebody is sitting, one of your colleagues is sitting somewhere in the room, okay, and you change his chair to the side of a window, okay. With all good intention, you put the chair and table by the side of the window. The first question he will come and ask, why? Who authorized you to change it? I was comfortable there. Why you changed it? And it will take 5 minutes of your lecture to say that I have put it deliberately here so that you will get good sunlight and good air. Then also he will not be convinced, this and that he will say. So our subconscious by nature is status quoist, and we will have to break it, break the cycle. try to experiment everything, take initiative for everything, even if it fails. That's what I tell you, that there is no difference between failure and success. Okay, there is no difference, only your thinking makes it so. What you consider to be a failure actually may be an act of innovation, maybe an act of creativity, which is going to create wonder in the days to come. I always give the example of Columbus. It was a failure on his part not to reach Indian shore, and by mistake he reached American shore. Columbus, as you know, he wanted to discover India, but he reached American shore. That was a mistake. That was a blunder on his part, his failure. But do you think that prevented his name from being written in golden letters in the annals of history? No. He would have been equally famous if he would have discovered India. So what is the difference between failure? What is the difference between right, wrong, and all these things? There is no difference at all. Respond to the call of your heart and pursue whatever you love the most, whatever you are passionate of. Okay, like I was very passionate about teaching, but then, you know, the lure for money, position, power, and all that, it took me around the circle, around the world, and finally I came back to my passion, that is teaching. Okay, so always try to pursue something that you are passionate about. This you can tell the students also, initiative. Then creativity and initiative, you know, there are two sides of the same coin, because only when you take initiative, then only you can create, right? Then giving your 100% to whatever you do. See, that is also another problem. When I discuss about NLP, this also I want to explain to you through 2-3 demonstrations and exercises. So we never give our 100% to anything. So the students, they want this to be groomed in them by the teachers. They see, we don't give anything 100%. Okay, we will give only 60 to 70% and we will withhold another 30% for future. And the future may not come at all. The future may not come at all. So that is why always give your 100%. If you can give more than 100%, that is fine. And this is one of the teachings that I do from NLP. That is what I do, because I was not a very extraordinary student, slightly above average and all that. But by my decision to play 100% of my potential, I have been able to beat many of the top performers in life, in competition and everything. So please tell students, you give your 100% to whatever you do, even if you are playing football, you are playing volleyball, whatever you do. Many times I tell the youngsters that, my dear friend, do you know that you are not able to fall in love with this girl, and this girl is not able to fall in love with you? You know, the only thing coming in the way is you are not giving your 100% to whatever interaction you are doing with her. Okay, you are becoming self-conscious. You are withdrawing something to yourself, and hoping that the portion that I am withdrawing, that possibly tomorrow I will do. But by the time your friend has come and he has taken over the chance. So even if I say, whenever, even if you are flirting, give your 100%. Okay, give your 100%. Even if you are doing anything in life, give your 100% and success will be yours. Yes. Then, yeah. So blossom wherever you are. Yeah, this is what Martin Luther King Jr. he had said. You must discover what you are made for, and you must work indefatigably to achieve excellence in your field of endeavor. If you are called to be a street sweeper, yeah, this is very important. All of us must, that's what it is related to, giving your 100% to whatever you do. If you are called to be a street sweeper, you should sweep streets even as Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music. The level of perfection should be, even if you are a street sweeper, the level of perfection should be like that of Michelangelo painted or Beethoven composed music. That must be the commitment, that I'll give my 100%. That's what I have given the title. Blossom wherever you are. It should be like, you know, like sun. Sun never discriminates. If sun has to take water vapor, then it will pick up water vapor from drain, from mineral water, from a very good fountain and all that. It does not discriminate. It does not say that because it is polluted, dirty water, I'll not pick up vapor from this. No. Like lily, it does not say that I will not bloom unless you are giving me mineral water. Unless you are giving me mineral water, I will not bloom. Okay. So lily flower blooms whether it is polluted water, dirty water in pond, wherever it is, it blooms to full glory. And that is what is our responsibility, to allow, to motivate our students to bloom to full glory wherever they are. Yeah. Yes. Then a person of character embodies both performance character and moral character. Okay, so that is what I was telling you, that a performance character, you embodies both. Only by developing performance character shall we be able to promote academic achievement for all students. Yeah, performance character, it allows you to promote excellence in all students. Then foster an ethic of excellence. Ethic of excellence, that means the ethic itself will say that you must always pursue excellence in whatever you are doing in your life, not just highest test score. Test scores, they are one part, but excellence is another. Again, if I give you my example, then it will be okay. What is the difference between the two? Like test score, my test scores were always low in the school. You know why? Because the education system was such, is such. Today also it is there to a large extent, they have changed now, but still it was very boldly at that time that unless you are good in mathematics, you cannot get good score. Okay. So in school system, there will be one mathematics subject, the other one will be one optional, where if you pick up mathematics in both, you will get 100, right? And your score will go up. But for a person like me who was not good in mathematics, but exceptionally good in general knowledge, in social studies, in English, etc., my score will be less. And the moment the score will be less, the whole world will come to put a thabba behind you, a stamp, that here is a gadha, here is a donkey who could not get a good score, right? But does it have any relationship with excellence? It is not so. I proved it, because that is what I proved it, because subsequent time when then nobody will bother that in my school also I used to put an atlas behind me where I used to sleep. I used to put a big atlas, and each and every small country I'll write what is their population, what is their religion, and what is the food they eat, what is their art form, everything I would have written. So anybody who asks me any question, I will have a ready-made answer. That is why none of the interviews, none of the competitive interviews I have missed in my life, because I was exceptionally strong in those areas. Okay. To test me one day, our teacher, he asked me, what is the national festival of Ecuador? Nobody has heard where Ecuador is, but I heard and I told. Then he said, yes, you will go places. So he blessed me. He said, you will go places. Nobody will bother whether how much mathematics you know and all that. Yeah. So that is how. So my excellence was, my search for excellence, that did not stop with, so you're getting a good mark in the school system. It is definitely a pointer. But the way our parents are obsessed now, when they put so much pressure, the students, they commit suicide also. But they think once also that he may be very good in social science, he may be very good in other subjects, he may be very good in painting. Okay. So that is what, that is a big responsibility of the teachers actually, to foster an ethic of excellence, not just test scores. Develop scientific and entrepreneurial talent to produce a competitive, creative workforce. Yeah. That creative workforce, that competitive workforce, that entrepreneurial talent, how you are going to introduce it in the students. The entrepreneurial talent, how you are going to introduce. In my college, when I am heading the E-cell, entrepreneurship cell, then taking part in the Atal Incubation Center, which is specially given to our university by the Niti Aayog and all that. So when I do that, I always encourage students that please try to find out where is the vacuum. Look at the value chain and find out where is the vacuum. And can you start up, can you build a startup around that vacuum? You look at any successful startup, whether it is Oyo, whether it is Zomato or whatever, you see that it has started with a vacuum. Husband and wife, they get tired in the office, they come back home, they don't want to cook, and they cannot go to the hotel, because if they go to hotel, they have to wait for 1 hour in the queue. Okay, and they are so damn tired. They want hot, spicy food immediately at home. That is how there was a vacuum. And Zomato and Swiggy entered into that vacuum and they became successful. Right? Like this, you look at any startup, Oyo for that matter, either there was rotten hotel, Jhopdi hotel, or there will be 5-star hotel. The lower middle class people, when they go on travel, where they will stay, reasonably priced but decent. There was a big vacuum. Everywhere, any successful startup you see, there is a big vacuum. Okay, and that vacuum they filled in. Recently, one of my students, he has done a very successful startup. Just finding out, taking the cell numbers of the students, about 2,000 students in our university who are in Navi Mumbai campus, and then trying to find out what sort of food somebody can supply. Then they have started one where the food will be, the tiffin carriers will reach their home and all the students are quite happy. It was in a very humble way they started, and it has picked up and they are doing very well. Like this, we can talk and talk. So always look for vacuum, and students are learning the art of making very successful startups out of that. Then the whole person. What are the strengths of character that make up the whole person? Now, no parent. Please remember one thing, that all the parents, their expectations from the institute as well as from the institute also. From the institute, that is what I will be talking about now, about the branding of the institute. That is very important. So from the institute and the faculty, so they want their child to be whole person. They know their child is not a whole person, because most of them, they have fragmented household. Nobody is in a joint family now. They are all nuclear family with all selfishness and the individualism. All these things are so much prominent in the students now, because they come from a very, very narrow, the nuclear family. So there you think that only 2 persons in this life who matter to me, they are my father and my mother, if at all I have a sibling. Nowadays, many they do not have also, right? So in such a situation, you ask them to develop empathy with the society. You ask them to develop empathy for all the people around you. It is not possible. It will become very artificial. It is very artificial for them. That is how, whenever somebody comes to their house, they say, okay, he is a guest. Then immediately they ask, when is he going to return? Okay, if he is a guest, then he has to go. Okay, if he is a guest, he has to tell how many rotis he will eat. Okay, my father, my grandfather, they would have felt so scandalized if they would have gone to somebody's house and he is coming and asking, how many rotis I will make for you. It does not happen. Nowadays, it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple, and they say it is very practical. Yes. So what I am trying to say is that and sacrifice. In a joint family, one uncle may not be doing anything. He is jobless, but his children, his wife, they are taken care of with a lot of love and empathy by the seniors, by the elder brother, his wife, his children. The respect does not come down just because this man is not working, or this man is many times physically handicapped. So if somebody is born in that sort of situation, how do you compare him with a nuclear family where my whole family means my father and mother, nobody else? Nobody else in this world matters to me. And now you are telling that no, they matter, you should develop it. Who will develop it? Parents, they have failed to develop. It is for us, the teachers, who will develop it in them. And that is why the parents, they say, you teachers, sir, please give a complete personality to my son. Complete personality for my daughter. My daughter does not know how to sacrifice. She only knows everything belongs to me. Okay, she does not know how to share. How do you do it? So in the institute, we create a situation where they learn as to how to care and share and how to develop a sort of whole personality, complete personality, a whole person. A visionary goal of the institute to accomplish in our students, yes. So how do you do it? You do it like this: lifelong learner and critical thinker. So now, whether you like it or not, I clearly remember my father, who was who studied in he studied up to +2 in a good college in Calcutta, Presidency College, and then he, throughout his life, he was the most successful person. He was not required to learn anything more. But I, his poor son, with a string of management degree, law degree, and English, MPhil, this and that, and PhD, still I am like Sita, walking through fire to prove that I am relevant to the environment. So when my father remained relevant for nearly 50 years or 40 years, how is it that I am his son, I am not relevant even for 1 year? I do not know today by the knowledge skill that I have, whether it will stand me in good street tomorrow. It may not. Now suddenly you have seen those who do not have digital capability, they are being branded useless. And many of them have already been thrown out, and many are struggling to survive. Okay. Do you think that they do not have any other skill? They have, but you should have contemporary skill. Whatever contemporary society demands, contemporary industry demands, that skill, if you do not have, if you have some other skill, then that is useless for me. That is not productive for me. I will not say useless, not productive for me. Yeah, that is how you become relevant or irrelevant. That is how the sense of irrelevance, even at this age, I try to cope up every day, being very youthful. I try to fight it. I try to learn, and that everybody, all of us should do. Otherwise, there is no place. Then diligent and capable performer. Yes, your performance should be with capability, and capability will come always, friends, from skill as well as your attitude, your behavioral setup. Okay, only skill is not going to take you very far. Your strong attitude will help you, which has helped me a lot, to make me a winner everywhere. If that has happened, it is because of the never say die attitude. Never say die attitude. How many times you pull me, how many times you make me fall, I don't care. I'll stand erect and I'll fight the next round of battle as fiercely as I can. Yes. So that is how, diligent and capable performer, socially and emotionally skilled person, emotional quotient. The first step is being self-aware. Being self-aware is the first step to be emotionally very strong person. And once you are aware that these are my strengths, these are my weaknesses, then in your mind itself you chalk out the strategy. In your mind itself you chalk out the strategy. I can tell you, I told you just now with a sense of pride that in most of the competitive examination, in interviews, I have never been rejected. The most important thing that is that I assess myself. That is what I teach my students also. There should be a lot of classes on industry preparedness, which I do in my college, and we can do it here also. So it will teach how to make the interview board ask the question you want. This may seem a bit very difficult, but believe me, friends, it is very possible. The way you answer their question, you should know how to trap them. The way you answer the question, there should be some leading point in your answer, which will take them, which they will fall for it and they will ask that question. Okay, this way it is done, but I think the other way, that is more interesting. The moment you answer like this, you are putting an idea in their mind that this student is telling, this candidate is telling that this is okay, but the other one is very interesting. Then why not ask? Why do you say it is interesting? Okay, you are trapped now. The moment they ask, why do you say that is more interesting? They are trapped because I wanted to in that area. I'm prepared to talk for 1 hour in that area. And I talk for 10 minutes and they look at the watch. This candidate has taken already 15 minutes. You have to interview another 20 candidates. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. And I come out as the winner. So these are the types of mind management you can do. You can train your students to actually face the interview in a very, very confident manner and get the right questions they want the interview board to answer, to ask them. Okay. So, yeah, socially, emotionally skilled person, right? Then ethical thinker, yeah. So the only thing is, ethics is a very slippery topic. All of you know that my ethics may not coincide with your ethics. Okay, but as a corporate person, I can always tell you, though I am a teacher, but essentially I teach such subject also, which has a lot of corporate relevance, that is management. So what is happening is that ethical thinker means in the corporate, the day you join a company, we give you a copy of the code of conduct. The code of conduct will have 100 points. And in those 100 points, there will be some of the points which you will find very interesting. Because we said, why these points are there? These points, why if I violate, then it will be misconduct. And I can be charge sheeted. I can be issued a show cause notice. That is why code of conduct is given. That if you do not follow the 100 points, then who has devised these 100 points? Then you come to know that the company in its board has devised. I'll share a very interesting thing. When I had joined my last company, I joined there as a director. And, during lunchtime, my wife, with a lot of love and affection, had prepared the egg curry and had given me for lunch. And suddenly my secretary comes running and says, he picks up the egg and throws to the dustbin. Sir, don't take it, because if they come to know, then you will be charge sheeted, even if you are a director. The simple reason you have not read the code of conduct. You see clause number 93. 93 says that, you cannot bring any non-veg item to the office premises. You forget about eating it, you cannot bring also. If you do that, that is a misconduct and you can be charge sheeted. Okay, I saw. Then I said, I have not gone up to 96 point. I have read up to 23 only. Okay. Then I thanked my secretary so much. And then I came to know that how ethics is a slippery thing. Yeah, some basic ethics is okay. Okay, ethics based on certain societal values, violence, this and that, okay. But some of the other subsidiary points, they can vary. But important thing we teach management students is that whichever company you join, you follow their corporate ethics. Their corporate ethics you follow as long as you are in the company. But when you come home, there can be another ethics, that is a personal ethics, where they may be very different. They may be very different, okay? But you cannot follow your personal ethics in the corporate ethics. As long as they are not clashing with each other, fine, you can transfer. But when they clash, it is corporate ethics which will prevail. Yeah. Right. That is where, that makes a big difference. Then respectful and responsible moral agent. Respectful and responsible moral agent, yes. Then self-disciplined person who pursues a healthy lifestyle. Yeah, you should be self-disciplined. You should set the standards as to what you will do, what you will not do. Pursue a healthy lifestyle. Then contributing community member and democratic citizen, yes. That also, that how the students, we try to groom them, how to be contributing community member and then democratic citizen. Spiritual person engaged in imbibing a life of noble purpose. Many times we confuse between religious person and spiritual person. A religious person is not necessarily spiritual. Yeah, there can be people who are both. But a religious person cannot be always spiritual, because a religious person mostly believes on a lot of rituals. And that is how what is happening is the noble purpose may or may not be there. That is why you have seen so many our gurus, they have been arrested for this and that and all that, because the purpose has not been noble. Okay, So try to develop the spiritual personality of the students. Yes. Then now come to the crux. The parents' expectation and management. How do you do that? We'll talk first about the parents, then students. Okay, that is how we'll discuss. And there will be an open house after that. I'll leave some time for that, maybe 15-20 minutes. Yeah. So parents, they want their wards should be well groomed in strong value system and with holistic personality development. I have explained this. I will not repeat that how in the present societal setup, it is not becoming possible. It is not becoming possible actually for the students in their domestic setup to become a whole person, to be well groomed, and value-based development. It is not happening. Holistic personality is not happening because it is not a complete family. It is not a complete family, and that is how this is happening. Okay. Then comes their wards should have strong self-confidence and maturity to handle types of situations in life and emerge as winners perennially. Whether we are teaching our students to learn from their mistakes and emerge much stronger. I personally I have faced a lot of tragedies in my life. Okay, a lot of setbacks in life. But believe me, friends, that from every setback I emerged much stronger than before. And that is why I do not bother. My self-confidence is so high that I always dare to put the whole world at my feet and still become a winner. And that will happen to all the students and all of you, provided you teach this simple trick that look at all problems as opportunities, all adversities. Adversities do not come with a definition of their own. Okay, you give a definition to it by responding the way you do. If you respond to an adversity positively, then that adversity does not remain adversity. It becomes your friend, it becomes your teacher, it becomes your well-wisher. But the moment you respond to the adversity negatively, then the adversity comes down to crush you under its feet and make you part of the dust. So who is creating reality here? You create your own reality by deciding to respond to adversity the way you do. Adversities will come and go. There is nothing like red rose all the days. Yes. There will be a lot of ups and downs. And you should learn how to love the downs also. Okay. That is then only when you love the downs, then only it will become a rhythm. It will become music. Otherwise, it is not music. If there is no variation in the rhythm of the music or in the tonality of the music, it does not remain music. Howsoever your voice, sweet voice it is, the only thing you say, no, it is not music. The only because you are giving variation to it, it is music. And that is why ups and downs will be there. They are rhythms of life, and you should know how to enjoy both with a lot of glory and elegance. Yeah. Then, yes. So that will make you winner perennially. Yes, perennial means, again, the same thing, habitual winner. Then faculties must be perfect role models who will mentor students to give out their best always. Yes. I have told you that nowadays, I clearly remember even when my sons are in their childhood, they will ask some question. They will try to test father. Papa, do you know it? Then the moment I will give the answer, yes, I know, and this is the answer, they will look at with a lot of doubt and skepticism. No, I'll ask my teacher. My teacher knows the best. Okay, that time you do not know whether you will be happy or not, because I started my career as a teacher, so I have every reason to take it as a very, very big compliment. But if I say, even with PhD, this and that, so many degrees around my neck, my son says I am useless, my teacher is the best. See the type of trust the students have on the teacher, the type of values they are putting on your being a teacher. So we must live up to that, and we must try to build their future in such a way that not only they create history for themselves, but they create history for the whole country. And this is in our hand and we should do it. So faculties must be perfect role models who will mentor students to give out their best always. Yes, yes, yes. Then faculties must be unfailing motivators to empower the students to achieve much more than they believe they are capable of. What they believe they are capable of, that is always less, because I have told you, all of us believe less than 100%, 60%, 70%. So another 30% of our potential is going west. That is the transmission loss. It is the role of the teachers to bridge this transmission loss by being very strong motivators to the students. Yeah, I feel very happy when many of my students they say, sir, after attending your class, we feel so charged. We feel so charged that we can win any battle in our life. That is the biggest compliment. Yeah, teachers, they can be perfect motivators to the students. And students cannot be motivated by anybody else as powerfully as the teachers. And that should be the biggest opportunity for all of us. Yeah. Then comes, yes. So faculties must cultivate the habit of self-study. Self-study. Because now gone are the days when, your studies will be syllabus based. Many times you will find that what is to be taught that should be in the syllabus, it is not there. Especially we face this problem in management. Because today the way the organizational problems are being solved, you cannot expect the organization will be able to solve the problem the same way tomorrow. Because environment is changing, competition is changing. My competitor is giving me a slap every day. So I'll have to find out new ways to solve the problem. And when I try to find out new ways to solve the problem, I find the textbooks are useless because the textbook was written by some management expert in 1960. And my students are still reading it. The gentleman, however great he was, the management expert, he wrote in 1960 to take care of the problems of the management in 1960s. So you are now trying to solve today's problems with yesterday's solutions. You will fail. You will fail. You cannot solve today's problems with yesterday's solution, my dear friend. So you will have to reinvent new solutions and you will have to come out with new solution packages. That is how self-study is important. Self-assessment is important. Goal setting is important and realization in the students. So how you keep on changing your goal setting. Your today's goal, the moment you are trying to freeze it, then you find that the goal has slipped ahead and different benchmark has come. And again, you have to work hard to learn more things to see that you are there. Yes. So create curiosity in students to experiment and learn. Yes. I was giving my own example as to how I was very curious. And how to create this curiosity in students that lies with the teachers. Say, as a teacher in me, I was always asking this question. I don't know if I have shared with you. No, I have not. See, like I'll tell my son who is very fond of, KFC chicken. So I'll tell, okay, I am taking you there. But after that, I will ask, what is that interesting thing you saw in KFC? He said nothing. He will talk about chicken, how tasty this and that. I said, this is the problem. Your curiosity is one track. How to develop a multi-track curiosity in the students. Then I said, did you not find anything? The logo of KFC. Anything interesting? Na? Yes. Ek pagal buddha ko dekha. That was his response. Pagal Buddha. Okay. Then I said, do you think that the company is an idiot by putting a Pagal Buddha as the logo? They could have put a very beautiful rose. Have you seen the logo of Wipro or Infosys? That they have put the photograph of Narayan Murthy or Azim Premji? Why this man, whose name is Colonel Sanders, who set up this company KFC, which is now giving run for money to McD, famous brand, McDonald. So why he has put his own photo as the logo? And do you think he did not have a safety razor to take a good shave? Do you think? Then he started thinking, yes, this is very interesting. Yes, Papa, tell what is the story. Then when I told the story, Then he was very impressed and he tells the story to others also. It is so powerful, so motivating story as to why the man decides. Because he decided that at the age of 75 also, he is also a big motivator for me and many others he can be. Like he says, life can start at 75. He had written of his life, he wanted to commit suicide. There was some tragedy in his life, but then he did not, something happened, he did not. And then he created a history. He created a history. So he says life can begin even at 75 and you will not die as long as you are chasing a dream. He had a dream of making his company as one of the best in the world. And that is what is the dream he is still chasing. He's still alive, please. He's still alive. He wants to make it much brighter company than what it is today. And he says that when you are chasing a dream, even death salutes you. Death will also run away from you when you are chasing a dream with all passion. Right? That is what, yes. So encourage the culture of critique in students by being kind, specific, and helpful. Yeah, this is important. How you analyze this temperament of critic, being critical to find out what is the in-depth thing in each and everything. Finally, parents want the faculties to be catalyst to their wards in being able to secure a good placement after their study. Yes. So placement finally comes the many of my friends, faculty friends, they must be wondering why this man is not talking about placement. Because students as well as their parents, they are more concerned about the placement. Yeah. Here again, I'll tell you, teachers can play a very important role. I am not saying that teachers, they will do it through contacts alone. Yes, industry contacts, that helps. But most important thing that helps is, which I am telling you from my experience, when they're writing research paper, when they're writing their internship, when they're writing their project report, we as teachers, are we being very careful to look at it as something creative, something innovative, or only as bloody part of the academic work to submit a research paper? He has submitted, okay, passed MBA, right? Unfortunately, that orientation has to be changed in the teachers also, right? So when they write a project in the interview, because see, please remember that a student goes to face interview in the industry, that time he does not have anything with him, he does not have experience, and he carries only the certificates. That time the interviewer will ask, what was your project on which you wrote your project, your internship project was on what? Then suppose he finds the internship project very interesting, he will read 4 or 5 pages and then ask you questions, and many times we have selected people out of that. But if you are writing a project which is only an academic project, writing on something, which you can get from the Google, you can download from Google. No brain power is needed there. So we being teachers, we must encourage students to create something in their internship project, to create something in their research paper. And when they hand over at the time of interview to the interview board, believe me, the interview board will think twice before rejecting you. If they have created something in their internship project. But as teachers, are we encouraging them to do it? Or, ek banana hai, you have to prepare one research project, please do it, and your job is over. No. Your job starts there only. Yeah. Then what are the students' expectations? The student expectations are teaching contemporary, ready-to-use knowledge and skills. So this point I have already told you. The ready-to-use knowledge. Industries are not going to wait that you will gain knowledge after 5 months, 6 months and all that. They want ready-to-use knowledge. Like if you have gone to a particular hotel which makes very good dosa, you cannot say, the hotel fellow cannot say, that sir, you come after 1 hour. It will take 1 hour for the fermentation process to be over. So come after 1 hour. Do you think you will wait? You have gone with your friend, girlfriend and all that. You will spoil your time there. You will go to another hotel. That is what we do in the industry. In industry also, we do not wait. If we find somebody is not good enough, okay, you go home. I'll find out somebody else in your place. And that is what is very important. So you should be ready to use knowledge, right? So students, that is their expectation. Their teachers, they should mentor them, they should teach them such skills which will give them ready to use skill. Okay, teachers cannot hide under the fact that it is not there in syllabus, that is why I am not taught. No, teachers should go beyond syllabus and teach such subjects which are ready to use. If that is not done, then the teachers will not be so much faithful to the students, because students, they look at you as the perfect role model. Yeah. So developing positive mental attitude in students, they may be obsessed, like during COVID times, many students, they committed suicide. During COVID times, many of them, they are full of negativity. So you should give them this positive mental attitude always in their life, that it is you who can create history for yourself. Why should you obsess what is happening around you? You forget it. You can always respond to the crisis in a very positive manner. Then you will find the positive results will come. Like many companies, they have done astoundingly well during COVID time, including Amazon. Okay, so you cannot say that everything is all hopeless and bad. It is not so. Then individual counseling and assessment. Yeah. So teachers, we must do the regular, mentoring, counseling, and all that, and so that they try to excel in whatever they do, whether it is painting, whether it is anything. So that counseling is very important. And sandwich method of counseling is the best one. Okay, I'll not go into the details of it because all of you know it. Then focus on employable skills, future day skill. What is future day skill? Like all the students in my college, I told them I will be sending the Harvard University free for all webinars, then free for all different courses on data analytics, machine learning, and all that. I tell them that when you pass out your management degree, that time you should have at least 2-3 degrees from Harvard and important universities on machine learning, data analytics, etc. So that when not only you gain advanced knowledge in those areas, but when you go for interview, somebody is going only with a management degree and you are going with another 5-6 degrees you have gained. That is how you have made best use of the COVID times. Are you doing it? And we teachers, you should take care to guide the students and take them give them the right direction. So future day skill, robust communication and industry orientation. Yeah, robust communication, I need not explain, but only thing I'll explain in my class also, I find some students who come from vernacular medium school, they struggle with their English. Okay, but I tell them that English is a great language. This is the only language where you can start a sentence from noun, verb, or anything, and you can get away by making whatever sort of experimentation you do. I tell that I come from a vernacular medium school, but they say you speak very good English, you speak very stylish English. And many people, they say that English is an art with you. Then I feel very happy. And I tell them, do you know how I did it? I did it because every day I'll be giving a lecture before my mother. My mother, who studied only up to class 7 or 8. Okay, she is not good in English. But I'll give every day a lecture, today on cow, tomorrow on buffalo, the day after tomorrow on something. I'll give a lecture. And I'll make all sorts of mistakes in English. But then my mother will come to know that today you spoke with very good self-confidence. Because she has not understood English, but she knows what is the trick of success. So she has understood that today your English, your lecture was very good. It was full of self-confidence. But earlier, yesterday, you are struggling. You are struggling, I found. Why did you struggle? Then I'll try to tell, Mom, this was the thing, and all that, and I'll overcome. So the credit goes to my mom, not to anybody else. That if I am an astounding speaker in English now. So that is why I tell them that always use your parents as sort of springboard. And at home, when you go back home, you speak on any subject. Today, I told somebody, today you speak on this farm law dispute, what is happening. Tomorrow you speak on something else. Tomorrow you speak on something else. Maybe they understand half of it, but that does not matter, because they are the people who can give you the right feedback, and you can change, and you are doing this practice at their cost. So, and because if you do not do that, you will make mistake in the interview, and that time they will be judgmental and possibly they will reject you. That should not happen. So communication, then non-monotonous, interactive, learn through fun pedagogy. Yeah, there should be a lot of fun. Please remember that adult education is always by consent. It is not school education where you can teach anything and the students, they will be attentive. No, it is not. So adult education is always by consent. If our students who are adults, they have switched off their mind and somebody is thinking about something, and you are talking, maybe your talk is gem of wisdom, but if it is flying over his head, it does not help. So to capture his attention, you will have to occasionally resort to little bit of fun here and there. That is what is learn through fun method, and yeah, you should practice it. Then facilitate expert panel guidance. Yes, many times you invite expert panels from outside to talk, because outsiders, when they come and talk, students, they become more receptive. That okay, we have seen our teacher, howsoever learned he is, we are seeing him every day. But somebody from outside has come. There is a saying, "Na ghar ka murgi dal barabar." So you should bring expert panel from outside also for greater acceptability. Not that they know better, but for greater acceptability. So ignite curiosity and harness result-oriented skills for success during internship. I have already told you. And post-study professional life also during internship. Then faculties to use more and more methods of role play, simulation techniques, etc., to give real-time industry feel to the students. Because in our country, nobody, very few, after their work, they come for education. Whereas outside, it has been made compulsory that you should come for study, maybe after doing some work experience. So here industry feel is very important, and role play and simulation method it has. Faculties and institutes may give extensive soft skill and neuro-linguistic programming training to the students to be permanent winners, to perennial winners in profession and in life. Yeah, how to make my students perennial winners? This is my responsibility. If I have been successful in making me myself a perennial winner, if I have been successful in making my children and my other family members, then it is also my responsibility, and I have done it to many of the students, and I'll keep doing as long as I am associated with them. Yeah. Yes. So then institutional brand building, that is the final lab that take all. So what are the steps in institutional brand building? Don't think that only teachers are responsible for everything. Teachers are what their institutions are. So institution plays a very, very important role in shaping of the teachers. So take all stakeholder expectation. Who are the stakeholders? Who are the stakeholders in this institution? The trustees, the principal, then other people who are members of the management committee, governing board, advisory committee. They are all stakeholders. So what is their expectation? We have never done a formal study anytime. We should do what is their expectation. Then prepare overall blueprint containing defined vision, values, and purpose. So what is the purpose of this institute coming up? What is its vision? What are the values it stands for? Specific student segment it will target. What are the type of students it is going to target? Okay, what are the types of students? Then goals and aspirations that the brand will champion. The brand of the institute, what sort of goal it will champion? Many times it will champion that this has transformed the life of the people from the slums. This has transformed the life of the students who have come from the fishermen community, from this community, that community. Like that, you can make it very specific. Then internalize the brand personality. So how the brand personality will be internalized in the students as well as the faculties. Any institution is built from inside out. Yeah, the values of the institute that stands out, and that should go into the students as well as the faculty members. So management and faculty need to completely align with the brand's values. The institution's brand values, they should align. They should align with that totally. If they do not align, then they cannot be true ambassadors of the value system of the institute. So every time a faculty stands up before the class, it must be the institution's brand in action. Very powerful sentence. Any time a faculty member stands up before the class, it must be the institution's brand in action. So the brand, institute's brands must be so powerful that, and the teacher must be such a great ambassador of such value system. The moment he stands up before the class, the students look at him as the brand in action. Right? Then continual innovation in pedagogy, teaching methodology, every time you can change, and that most of the teachers, they keep experimenting and they do it with the new pedagogical system. Yeah, infuse the brand in students. Yes. How do you do that? Students epitomize institutions' characters and standards. Yes. That is what in the beginning of this class I have told you also, how the institution's value system, that brushes up with the students and it becomes part of their personality. I was giving one or two examples as how when I was interviewing candidates, then I'll be out of curiosity asking, you have come from which institute? You have come from which institute? From that, I can tell you now itself that some of these institutes, they stand like this. Some of these institutes, they stand like this. Because their value system has gone into their students. Okay, right. So that is how we create the brand valuation in students also. So students epitomize the institutional character and standards. Students are the best ambassadors of the brand. Yes, competency, consistency, and decorum. These are the three things, competency, consistency. That every year, as you know, a particular institute is producing good students year after year. So the consistency is there. The consistency is coming basically from the value system of the institute and the value system of the teachers, right? And decorum. Decorum, you will find that a particular college or institute has a particular type of decorum. Yeah, the way they respect seniors, the way they wait, the way they are patient, the way they give place to others to talk. All these things in group discussion and all that we have seen, and we become curious. You are from which college? The moment we ask, we come to know, okay, they stand for this value system. Then the hallmark of a student, then cultivate the alumni past successful years. This is for building a brand. I think this plays a very, very critical role. How to cultivate the alumni. Okay, past successful students need to be cultivated, involving them in the art of management of institutes, reputation, as in Harvard School. Yeah, that's a very big example I gave. But in our small way also, the past, the alumni, they play very important. They create such a good ecosystem in the industry. Okay, I have seen as far as the management students are concerned. The past students, they create so much of impact that this college, the students are like this. They will be problem solvers. They will try to solve the problem this way, that way. They are very innovative. They are very empathetic. They are very considerate. They are very, very caring people. Okay, so all these things, they come from the alumni. Alumni are the, they are the walking ambassadors. Yeah. Then successful alumni keep the institution's curriculum ahead of time because they are already working. Say, no, that they will say, "Arey, this curriculum is not going to work, sir. This is 5-year-old syllabus, sir. This is not being applied in the industry anymore. Please change it." They will say, "I am working in that area." When they say, then the institute, they try to be more responsive to them because they say that I am doing in this and this does not work anymore. So please update your curriculum, update your syllabus, okay, to make it as contemporary always as possible, right? So alumni support and handholding, building a chain. Yeah, you must have seen that how alumni support plays a very important role because they will put your name. Suppose they find you are good, they will put your name in the industry or they are working, and there you can get a call suddenly for interview. That has happened in many cases. So developing alumni is also a very important point. So I've come to the end of it, my dear friend. Let us do it. Thank you very much, all of you. So I think I have taken enough of your time. 1.5 hours. So slightly more than that. So now I'll take some questions before we close, sir. Yeah. Questions, rather I will say some of discussion, suggestion, many of the points, your observation, because we are all faculties, we are in the same boat. Yeah, please.
Any faculty, if you want to ask questions to Nandi sir. Sir, I think you, with your words, I think you just spoke clearly to all of us. I mean, we are all thinking, I think. I mean,
Okay.
That's probably the reason we don't have questions right now, but it's like gratitude that we have right now.
No, no.
But still, if anyone has any questions, you may. I think, sir, the silence speaks here.
Yeah. Okay. I am very grateful to you, ma'am, and grateful to all the sirs, teachers, and my friends, because for your kindly bearing with me for the last 1.5 hours, and I am very thankful to our principal sir, then Kulkarni sir, then other faculties, members, friends, and all that, for all your support. And yeah, if you have found it useful, I am very happy that the time is well spent. And yeah, you can also, in case you want to suggest something, write something, you have my email ID. My email ID is with you in your college. You can send to me also. Okay, then. Thank you very much, friends. A lot of thanks to all of you. A lot of thanks. Thank you very much.
Nandi sir, I would like to say thank you to you on behalf of all of us here. With that, I think we will come to the conclusion of today's session. I just have a few words to wrap this up. Okay, here I go. I did then what I knew how to do. Now that I know better, I do better. I'm sure that today onwards, all of us will resonate with these words by Maya Angelou. I thank you, sir, on behalf of the entire VPM family for your time, your wit, and your words. Sir Kulkarni sir had to leave for another meeting, and he has asked us to convey his regards to you.
Yeah. He was there in the beginning, so thank you.
Yes. He had to leave midway as he had another meeting to attend. So,
okay.
I would also like to mention here that all the faculties are requested to kindly fill the feedback form. The link to the same has been posted in the chat box here. I request all the faculties to kindly fill the form. Nandi sir, once again, thank you on behalf of all the faculties here. I would also like to thank our technical team for the help here, and all teachers, all staff from VPM Junior College as well. Thank you on behalf of all of us.
So thank you very much. Thank you very much, madam. Thank you, Pratibha ma'am. Then all my dear faculties and colleagues, rather I should say, and also to Kulkarni sir and Ajit sir. All of you, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.